Hi everybody, welcome back. We're continuing on with exercise 135, page 216, and Cynthia Shelmerdine's introduction to Greek. We'd already done some exercises from 135, but time got away from me in the last video, so we're going to power through this one in a short kind of additional segment now. So the sentence is this, it's number 10. You have ransomed all the men on the island, haven't you? So this is a little bit maybe redundant or easy, regressive at this point, but it's helpful just sometimes to say, okay, well, what's the subject? That's you. The verb have ransomed. It's going to be a compound verb in English, but done with one verb and one word in Greek. All the men. So all is going to be an adjective modifying men. All these things are going to be the direct object of ransoming. So therefore, in the accusative, on the island. So here we have a prepositional phrase, and we know on is done in Greek with the preposition en, and that's going to take the dative. And then haven't you is something that's interesting that we came across when we first started learning these quite leading questions, we might call them, with an expectation of either a yes or no answer. Response, we'll say. The yes version is ara u, which is maybe a little hard to remember because the u is actually a kind of negative sound, but it's less strong or less marked at least than ara may, which is the no expectation. So what does haven't you mean? You have ransomed all the men on the island, haven't you? That's expecting yes. So we're going to want to start this sentence off with ara u. Well, with that as all as a preamble, let's keep these our kind of notes up there and actually start writing in a new color the words of the sentence. So you have ransomed. What's this verb? Have ransomed. It's composite in English where we've got a helping verb or an auxiliary verb as it's sometimes called, and then our kind of main verb that actually contains the idea. So you have ransomed. This is chapter 31. So we're talking about the perfect system here, and that's exactly what we're looking for here, the perfect. Now, we would think active, but what's the verb to ransom in Greek? You might say, well, Al, we haven't actually learned one. What we do know is the verb luo, to free, to loosen, and when you take this into the middle voice, because luo is active, but when we make it luomai, that translates as I ransom. Because remember, the middle voice is a somewhat active, even though it has a passive ending, it has a kind of active meaning, but one that reflects back on its subject. It's almost reflexive. So I ransom for myself. I loosen, I free for myself. That's really kind of a good definition of the word for ransom. So we want the middle perfect here of luomai. So where do we find that? Well, we find that in our chapter 31, and we're looking here on page 215, so just one before, and we've got, remember, our fifth principal part is leluka. This is our active first person singular, I have freed. But we want to make this second person, you, and then we want to make it passive or middle passive. We want to get the middle aspect of this ransom. We don't want to make it passive at all. We really want to make it middle, but the middle and the passive share a form. So what we need to do is keep the reduplication, lel. That's showing that we're in the perfect system. We keep our kind of the essence of the verb lu, because that's what we're up to. We drop the kappa, and when we just put a regular personal ending, my would be I have not freed, but I have ransomed. But then, of course, we don't want I have ransomed, we want you have ransomed. So what we put in there is simply the second person singular ending, lelusai. And that's a short diphthong when it's word final in Greek, except for the optative mood. So what we have here, lelusai, is exactly the verb we want. Haven't you, though, we need to include that here at the beginning as a part of our expectation. So arau, haven't you ransomed, freed for yourself, that is, all the men. So all, that's an adjective. We remember hopefully that that's from the adjective pasapan. This is in chapter 20. It's a fairly irregularly formed word, but it comes up so frequently, and you can often translate it you would put the word in the same position that you would in English. So all the men is going to be pantas, because again we need an accusative plural form for the direct object. Ara ou lelusai pantas tous. And then men, let's assume that they're talking about men as opposed to women, not just humans, which would be anthropous. But let's assume that they're talking about andras, men, as in with a XY chromosome, right? Or at least a 1Y chromosome, on the island. So N, we need the dative, te, because nesos is feminine, even though it's a second declension noun. So it has a kind of masculine-looking ending, but indeed that is a feminine noun, in te neso. And then haven't you, we've already taken care of right here. So all we need to do to put a bow on this is put the kind of Greek question mark, the semicolon at the end. So what do we have? Ara ou lelusai, pantas tous andras in te neso, question mark. That should do it. See you then next chapter, next lesson. Or actually, I guess we're not moving on to chapters yet. We've got a little bit more to do. Chapter 31. We'll introduce the perfect infinitive and get to some of those exercises just now. See you then.